Thank the Force. It's Thursday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Time once again, and we are live here on Star Wars Newsnet. It's another Star Wars Newsnet live session, boys. I am Tyler, joined, as always, by my good friend Luke and Mr. J. It's been a couple weeks since we've seen Mr. J. Guys, what an interesting Star Wars discussion we had last week, talking about Star Wars what ifs, that we had to do it all over again because we only made it through some of the prequel era stories. So we're going to be back talking about some original trilogy hard hitters. I am very excited about this. But first, a couple of things of note. Number one, I saw the trailer for Ballerina today. If you guys are John Wick fans, and one of my favorite things about John Wick is, like, you know how Disney has the Imagineers and the people that like are in charge of coming up with like all of their, amusement park theme park stuff. Does John Wick franchise have like murder Imagineers? Like, what is the most random thing we can use to kill someone, or what are the most random ways for someone to die? Because when I saw someone grab like the ice skating, like the ice skate, and then it cut and like they were swinging it in the trailer, I was like, oh, like I gave a little out loud, like, oh my gosh. So I don't know if you guys are John Wick fans, but I'll throw it to each of you. How are you doing? And what is our level of enthusiasm for Ballerina and John Wick? That's all I got right now as an opening.
Well, I can say I saw that trailer pop up on my like social media feed, and I was like, "Oh, that looks cool." Is it Ana de Armas? Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I recognized
another
her face.
reason to go see this movie if you didn't need one.
Exactly. I saw her face on that, and I was like, "Wow, they got her. That's going to be great." Kept scrolling, and I didn't actually watch it. Like I just,
He said, it's gonna be great. I kept scrolling. I didn't actually watch it. Like, what?
And I genuinely mean like it's probably going to be a great movie, but I just didn't take the time to really watch it. So I'm really glad you did. I haven't seen John Wick 1 and 2. Saw the third
Get
one.
out.
Didn't see the fourth one. So
No.
I'm in a real weird spot here with John Wick.
You're one of the 5%. Like, you talked earlier before the show about how I'm one of the 3 people this side of the Mississippi reading Starlight stories right now. You're the only person I've ever met that said, skip John Wick 1 and 2, went to go, saw the third one. Oh, didn't see the fourth one. And then sitting here going, yeah, Ballerina looks great. I haven't seen it, but happy for you. Like, what are you on this evening?
I'm in a
Like,
1%er
today.
How do you even follow like John Wick 3 if you haven't even seen John Wick 1 and 2?
You can't. You can't.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You could follow those. Like, it's just like I don't know. Do you like mass murder, chaos, and just watching Keanu Reeves evade death for 2 hours? I mean, the story isn't exactly what is necessarily riveting about.
Okay, I didn't want to say.
Although
that,
in the trailer, I did love when he shows up at the end. He's just like,
yeah,
think you're already doing that. Like, just very much in his Keanu Reeves shtick already for that one. Jay, are you going to be seeing Ballerina next year?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I have seen all of the John Wick movies. You're asking like, who are the Imagineers behind all this stuff? They're called stunt coordinators.
Right.
And
no, I'm not talking about like the stunt coordinator. Like, I'm talking about the people like that are sitting in the room going, what if we like murdered someone with like an ice skate this time? Or like, like in John Wick, was it like John Wick 3 when they get Boban Marjanovic from the NBA as an assassin, and John Wick kills him with a library book, and by like snipping his neck with a library book? And I'm thinking to myself, like, I want to know who is there a group of people whose job is specifically like coming up with creative, unique ways to commit like actually like gory, disgusting, horrible murders.
Yeah, like the dogs in John Wick 3. There was a pencil in John Wick 2. I think probably my favorite like kill style though is definitely the nunchucks in John Wick 4.
Yes.
The nunchucks was good. It was just like pounding and just wailing on the guy with the nunchucks. But I saw all 4 of the John Wick movies. Saw the 4th one in IMAX. That was a really fun time.
Oh yeah,
so,
I bet.
Yeah.
The only time, so I don't like to judge people in terms of what do you like, what do you go see. I do judge parents and what they will bring their kids to go watch. And when I was at John Wick 4, I felt slightly uncomfortable when I'm sitting next to this guy who brought his there's like 3 boys with him, and none of them had to be older than like 8 years old, like maybe 9 years old. And then we're like at John Wick 4, and I felt a little uncomfortable. Like, is this
Well, he's in Fortnite, so they had to take him.
right? It's the guy from Fortnite, Dad. Like, I gotta go watch him in Fortnite. Oh my goodness. Whatever.
And they watch the movie.
And then, so Jay, in honor of Miguel, I'll give you a moment to talk about The Last of Us season 2 trailer as well, which I did watch. Also, Norman Reedus, Daryl being in Ballerina. That's gonna be awesome. Like that's gonna be awesome. But go ahead, The Last of Us season 2 trailer, and then we'll talk about Star Wars because that's kind of why we're here.
Yeah. So today was The Last of Us Day, which is supposed to be like in game when the virus breaks out. Miguel is a real big Last of Us fan.
Right.
He loves like that. That's like practically his entire personality. Sorry, Miguel.
Miguel.
But
Miguel takes him astray.
Yeah, he's gonna hear this back and just be like, Jay. No, but yeah, this one's gonna be focusing on The Last of Us Part 2 video game, which is definitely like that's the Last Jedi of video games, I feel. So if you thought like Last of Us season 1 was divisive and had like crazy moral questions, wait till you get to Last of Us Part 2 on this season. And they've talked about like that Part 2 of the video game. There goes my pen, it just flew off. Part 2 is going to be more like this Part 2 is going to be divided into multiple seasons, so we might not even see like the full extent of like that game in the season. We're going to get multiple seasons out of that one game. So I don't know, like I'll say this though really quick. I don't actually like The Last of Us Part 2 video game. And it'll be really like I'm still like debating what I really want to watch this. I might not. Knowing what happens, I'm like, but I'm interested to see how it changes because I feel like there's definitely going to be some changes needed, especially making the transition to TV.
All right, that's fair. We'll see what happens. All right. Are we ready to talk some Star Wars this week? We're ready to talk some Star Wars. All right, before we do, Isabella, just because we only have one day of school tomorrow, make sure you're there in class on time. We will see you at school in the morning. And if you want to take your retake quiz, because I know a lot of us didn't do so good this week, make sure for those watching or are going to go watch, make sure you show up in the media center before school. 8:45. We're doing our retake, so make sure we're there because our class average was terrible. We gotta re-up that. So we're gonna try again. I'll be there. I expect to see everyone else there. A couple Star Wars things this week.
What if
I got a better grade?
What if y'all did better on the retake than we did the first time? That would be great. Mark Hamill's birthday was this week. I forgot to mention that earlier, but any special happy birthday messages from Mark Hamill? Like if Mark Hamill was here right now, is there anything you'd love to say to him? Anyone? Anything
I would
profound?
be speechless if I was being honest, but like Star Wars doesn't work without him. He's so crucial to this whole thing. And Tyler and I agree on this. I think his best acting performance was in The Last Jedi. So I mean, the fact that he's been able to be the heartbeat of Star Wars for decades is something we don't deserve. I love Mark Hamill so much, and his Joker role, like all the projects he's been in have been awesome. Like we've been so lucky to be alive at the same time as this guy. So I'm happy to share the planet with him.
Like those those tweets or social media posts where they're saying, just think about how like you could have been born at any time in history, but you were alive when Mark Hamill was playing Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. Also,
That's
Luke,
not true.
I wasn't laughing at anything you said. It was just whenever I hear someone say like he's the heartbeat, it just takes me to like the cringe, like the moment from Stranger Things season 4 where Will is like grabbing Mike when they're trying to like save Elle and he's giving up because Mike is basically just a Elle plot device in season 4, and he's just like screaming at Mike, "You're the heart, Mike! You're the heart!" And I don't know why, but I just that scene just never resonates with me, and I just
It never does.
cringe. I laugh a little bit. You're the heart, Mike. You're the heart. And so it's like a running joke with my sister now because she loves like that scene. And so every time something happens, we mess up. I'm like, "But Maddie, remember, you're the heart, Maddie. You're the heart." Like, just you gotta push on. Jay, what's your happy birthday message for our good friend Mark, friend of the pod?
Friend of the podcast.
Mark
No, I think that Luke said it right there too. I mean, Mark Hamill is an essential part in any series he takes part in, whether it be Star Wars, whether it be Batman, whether it be even The Flash. And I think we love him as Luke Skywalker. We love him as the Joker.
Mhm.
And I think personally he'd always be like my version of the Joker. As a fan of like the Arkham series, the Arkham video game series, as a fan of the Batman animated series, Mark Hamill is like it's amazing to like still that to witness his work and then to still be around while he's still alive too. So
Right. Absolutely. In other non-birthday related news, there was some unsubstantiated rumors floating around social media this week. And while I wouldn't say they're necessarily like super reliable or anything, it is providing an interesting talking point, and that is that Cal Kestis will make his live action debut in an upcoming Star Wars project or series. And of course, this is not something that's like confirmed or that we're even reporting here at Star Wars Newsnet because we don't think that it's a very reliable source right now. But that's not to say that Star Wars is not going to have Cal Kestis pop up in something at some point. What do you guys think the likelihood is that we actually see Cal Kestis before Jedi 3 is done and comes out? Because I could see them wanting to bring in this, fan favorite character from this video game audience. And, you have the actor sitting right there who I'm sure would love nothing more than to be in a Star Wars show. But there's also, and I would assume, Jay, I would love to get your thoughts on this, people that would be a little upset if that happened, if it took place later in the timeline from when we expect Jedi 3 to take place, because we would like to see his story told before we know anything else. So I'm curious what you guys think about that, because I don't know when Jedi 3 is going to come out, but I would assume it's a couple of years down the line, and that gives us a couple of years of possible Star Wars shows that he could show up in. Jay, as the video game guru, I will throw it to you first.
Yeah, no, you brought up an interesting point. I mean, obviously, we'd all love to see Cal Kestis and Cameron Monaghan step into that role in a live-action series. But you do bring up a good point, Tyler. It's that they're working on completing his trilogy of Star Wars games, but if they want to bring him into another TV series that takes place after the Jedi trilogy, then it's like, oh, we know that he's gonna survive. Then we know that like he's not gonna die in Star Wars Jedi 3, whatever they call it.
Right.
Yeah, it is a bit of a situation because these games take multiple years to come out to develop. We're talking 4 to 5 years. I think I have to look back.
Came out in 19, right? Like
Yeah.
Not 19, and Survivor was 23, right?
Yes, that is
23?
correct, actually.
Okay.
So that's a 4-year gap. Here's the thing too, behind the scenes in Respawn Entertainment, they've been shuffling around too with their director. I know the head director, Stig Asmussen, who did the first 2 games, he left Respawn Entertainment, and they've been kind of like scrambling. They've also been like hiring new staff, and so they might we might be in for another at least 4 years. So
Like
that
it
takes us
could be
to
like 2027 again. You know what I
20,
mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
2020. I'm thinking maybe even 2028. So that's a long time, and yeah, there could be a lot of the other different projects, that he could appear in. I could definitely see him in like The Mandalorian. Like I'd love to see this character on screen, and I'd love it to be Cameron Monaghan. Of course, we don't know if any of this is for real or not. These are just rumors, but it is an interesting talking point. Yeah, because yeah, I mean these games are in a difficult situation.
Mm-hmm. Luke, since I mean you like video games, Luke, but you're not necessarily like
Yeah.
this diehard video game person. Just tell me in general, like what your level of excitement would be to see Cal Kestis in live action. Like what was that? What does that look like for you?
I think Jay and I, and usually it's either Jay or Miguel can balance me out pretty well because they know real life pretty well. I'm the way too lost in lore guy, and so I'm very excited. I'm very positive on these Jedi games. I've loved them a lot. Fallen Order I've played through multiple times. Survivor I am gonna start another playthrough here soon. So I've loved them a lot. I would be very excited to see Cal Kestis show up in a live action series. I would like to point you both toward Vernestra Rowe. We knew that she was coming out in a show before her story was finished in books. I
Right?
think
Yeah.
maybe something, and depending on how you enjoyed that to happen,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like dead in the water. Like it's not like it can't happen or that it would be a bad thing or ruin anything.
Right.
I think we could see him pop up in a show in the Mandoverse after Return of the Jedi, even though his third installment of his game is going to take place before A New Hope. I think it could be fine. I don't think it's going to spoil anything. I don't think it's truly going to mess anything up
Mm-hmm.
story wise. But I would be very excited because Cameron Monaghan, he's a cool guy. Like
He's a great actor.
if you follow, I was going to say he's a great actor. Like if you've seen him in
Yeah.
Shameless or many other series he's been in, and even if you
Gotham.
follow him, yeah, exactly. If you follow him online, if you're just like watching his Instagram, he's a very funny person. He's artsy, he's funny, he's cool. So people like him are gems. I think we need to have him more involved in Star Wars if he would like to be. The door should be pretty open for him to do as much as we can get him to do, honestly.
And
If
then
he
we
was-
have. Oh, go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, sorry about that, Tyler. If he was to be in the Mandoverse, like Cal Kestis, he'd be about like 50, I think, maybe, because he's what, like in Fallen Order, he's like mid-20s, I want to say.
Oh, maybe. I was thinking like 17, but that's.
Oh, you know what? Okay, because you might be right actually, because he's still a youngling when Order 66 happens, and then the game takes place about 10 years after Order 66, I believe. So 10 to 15 years after. So he might be like,
I don't know. I was thinking mid-20s, early 20s, mid-20s.
Okay.
Like 22 to 25, maybe.
Yeah.
Because he looks like most Padawans are teenagers. So I would assume if
That's
his
true.
Padawan and Master dies, he's probably about 15 and something like that. And then
So yeah,
if it's a 10-year jump, 25. And then Luke, what would the timeline be to Mando, which is like 7 years post Return of the Jedi-ish?
Mando season 1 is like 5 years post
5 years. Okay.
Return of the Jedi, 9 ABY. So it's the internet is telling me he's 17 to 19 in Fallen Order.
Oh, okay.
okay.
So
All right. So
Fallen Order takes place 5 years after Order 66.
Okay.
So we're looking at like what, like he's like 40-ish when in Mandoverse timeline.
Math is hard. I don't know.
He'd be
I'll do it later.
17.
Numbers are
5,
crunching in Luke's head.
Yes,
so.
you guys do the
He'd
math,
be-
all right? You
he'd
guys do the
be-
math.
He'd be 29, 30.
Oh, actually, Cameron Monaghan is actually 31 right now.
Right. I think he'd
So
You can
be
plug him
kind
in
of perfect for that.
Yeah, actually, yeah. All right, there we go. So we got him.
You can plug him in anywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Yes, I'm glad it took us 4 minutes to do math on the show. We're just exposing ourselves to the world. Appreciate it. A couple comments here. Let's catch up. Manslayer, good to see you, my guy. He says he expects him to show up eventually. His main concern, though, is the live action pipeline stability. We've talked about this, about how frustrating is the Acolyte story will not be continued for. And we've talked about the reasons why we have mixed opinions on the Acolyte in general, but it always sucks when a show or a storyline is not going to be completed in the way that it was intended. I think we will get continuations of those stories. It's just going to be in ways for the more niche audience, books, comics, etc. Not exactly what you love to hear. However, in terms of like this whole stability part of the live action shows, I actually am really optimistic moving forward because I think we're going to have a bit of a break in these shows for a while. We have Skeleton Crew coming out, which has never been marketed or talked about as something that's going to be anything more than a one-season show. If it turns into a multi-season show, that's great because it has catapulted. And Luke and I talked about this and everything Skeleton Crew. If you haven't watched it yet, go check it out, Apple and Spotify, or on YouTube channel here. We talked about Skeleton Crew a lot on Monday, but Ahsoka season 2 is going to be the last season of that show, I would assume. And then you have Andor season 2 wrapping up, and that's going to be the conclusion of that. So there's this wide open place, and I think they're going to funnel a lot of resources to like one main show. They're going to try to get what is one thing that we can really get going that's not animated or anything else, and then move in. So I feel really good about the stability of Star Wars moving forward because I think they are going to really take their time with whatever is next. I really think they want to make sure they get that right. Now, they may play it way too safe in that regard and it not be something that actually expands Star Wars. At that point, I might be a little frustrated, but I think we have to be patient because the leadership at Lucasfilm is going to be looking different over the next few years, and we're going to find out a lot about Star Wars. I think even in the next few months, we could hear more about Kathleen Kennedy's contract. We could hear more about possible other promotions going on, new projects that are going to take place. So I think we just got to be a little bit patient when it comes to our Star Wars stories in the Disney Plus universe. And speaking of characters making live action debuts, Vernestra Rowe appears in the upcoming novel Tears of the Nameless, which just came out this week. I just want to let everyone know they can read Nate's review of Tears of the Nameless out at Star Wars Newsnet right now. Apparently, and I have not read the book yet, it is scheduled to arrive between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. At my house. So I am eagerly awaiting to get this. I might just wait until like an extra 30 minutes to leave for school just in case it arrives tomorrow morning and I can like read it during lunch.
Personally delivering it.
Aslan, I will not be waiting anymore then. Oh, exactly. Would terrify me. So Nate did say that there will be room for the Vernestra Rowe PR team to have to do some cleanup work yet again. So I am putting on my Vernestra Rowe, hat, getting ready to go to war here, and I'm ready to read this book, and I will be coming on this podcast by next Thursday. I will finish this book in 1 week, and I will be ready to share with
You're
you
insane.
why Vernestra did nothing wrong at all, okay? I will be ready to share that with you. But that comes out. I just want to direct everyone to Nate's review on Star Wars Newsnet and get into the High Republic books if you haven't already. They are so good. All right. It's 24 minutes in. Yeah, go for it.
How many pages is Tears of the Nameless?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't have the book yet. I don't know. I think it's a few. Probably, I would assume like the other young adults, probably like anywhere from 300 to 400.
I'm just asking because I'm like, man, you're gonna like finish an entire book in 1 week? That's insane.
When I got Fallen Star, I read it in 1 day. Like I just sat and that's all I did, like all day long. Like I went for a walk and I was.
This
like,
says Tears of the Nameless is 512 pages.
Yo,
That's
Yeah,
Amazon
well,
telling you that.
so remember I just said how
I
like
was
we have
looking at
like our
Amazon
quiz
too.
retakes and all that kind of stuff. Like my kids can say goodbye to getting those graded this weekend. Like
But
say goodbye to that.
do I need to remind us of Tyler's journey with
Oh
Midnight
yeah.
Horizon?
Oh
He can
my
do
Oh, I did
gosh.
not hear
He can
about
do
that one
this.
either though.
He
So
can do
Midnight
this.
Horizon. I remember getting a message from the guy who used to do a lot of our like publishing stuff at
Yeah.
Star Wars, and he was like, "Hey Tyler, do you have Midnight Horizon reviewed yet? I don't see it in the system yet." And of course, I had to lie and say, "Oh yeah, it's just a late night tonight. I'm gonna finish it up." And I totally was like, "Oh my gosh, I had my dates mixed up. I had it as like being released next Tuesday." And so I was only like a third of the way through the book. And so I literally was just like, all right, here we go. Like it's a Tuesday. I'm working. And I was just like, boss walks by, laptop, I'm typing, boss goes away, book comes back over the laptop. I'm trying to read. And that's all I did all day long is I just read that. Thankfully, it's a good book. So it made it easy. I just read all of Midnight Horizon that one day. And I'm just like going to town, like typing. It was like 3 a.m. And I'm like, yeah, I just decided to stay up late tonight to work on it. It's ready for tomorrow. Like, yeah, we can prove it now. It was bad.
That's one of my favorite stories.
But no, I will go to town on these High Republic books though. I can whip these Star Wars books out quick. That's what unfortunately my weekend will not be as productive as I would like now because I have Tears of the Nameless to read. But it's not about Tears of the Nameless. This is actually something I really want to talk about tonight before we get into our What If special. There has been a lot of chatter about the Rey movie this last week. Daisy Ridley sat down for an interview with the French film company saying how she feels great about this story, with the story that she was pitched, she wouldn't have come back if she didn't feel like it was a story that needed to be told. I think it's worth saying, though, that she did not have a full script. She still, as far as we know, does not have a full script. Miguel wrote in his weekly Sunday piece, he expects another writer to be attached to this before the end of the year to be announced because, Stephen Knight is, working on Peaky Blinders and everything right now. So they probably have to bring someone else in. We've had director changes over this as well. It appears that this one right now is indefinitely kind of stalled, maybe until 2025 or beyond. And World of Real reported saying that they're hearing that Disney is rethinking this movie entirely based off of them wavering on how popular the idea of a Rey movie is right now. As someone who is a massive Rey fan, and this is my number one Star Wars project that I am like excited for from like just a movie level and any level, I guess. But I've been really disappointed with the way that this has been going on for a while because clearly Daisy's ready. She wants to come back. Obviously, her health is very important, but it seems like she's like, I want to do this movie. Like, we're going to make it work. And it just seems like Disney, once again, Lucasfilm, once again, is not able to get the ground up and running on anything that doesn't have to do with The Mandalorian. And I just want to get your guys' quick thoughts on the Rey movie. I can share my piece later, but I'll start with you, Luke, because I want optimism, and I know you're going to bring me a little bit more optimism first. So I'll let you build up the optimism part, and then I have a feeling Jay's going to come in and be like, guys, like let's reel this back maybe a little bit. But go ahead, Luke. Give me the optimistic side that I need right now.
The optimistic side is, sure, it's faltering right now. Sure, it maybe doesn't look good right now, but that is because this needs to happen. Things need to change behind the scenes so that this thing can get onto our screens. This will absolutely come to fruition. It might not be on the timeline that we would like it. Maybe it's not going to hit the 2026 December timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Stinks, sure. But you know what I'd rather have? This movie. I would rather have this movie on the movie screen. And I think that's where we're headed. I think that we are going to need some, obviously, new writer, maybe director change, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
There's stuff that's happening that clearly isn't working for it right now. But I think that if we can work through these things, we can still get this movie, and it's going to be hard. Sure, it's not going to be snap of the finger, but I think this movie's still going to happen. I think it's going to look like we've said like multiple times when we've talked about this. It's just going to look really bad to have brought her out on a celebration stage and then be like, by the way, we are shelving this. It's going to go the way of Rogue Squadron.
Like, how could
It's
Star
just- I
Wars
don't-
fans really believe or respect anything that happens on a celebration stage?
Like this one,
Yeah.
this has to come to fruition at this point.
It has
Like,
to work.
You're putting your like reputation on the line here of like of our believability in your projects. So I'm
Mhm.
going to believe them that if they brought her out, if they said this is happening, if they've said there's these writers and people detached, this is going to happen. It's just faltering right now. That's what is happening.
Mhm. It is crazy that, like, I'm serious. How could Star Wars fans trust anything that Star Wars does at this point? If this movie, like in a few months, they say like this is indefinitely on hold, we don't know if this movie's going to happen. Like, because if you have an entire celebration where the biggest thing that happens at your celebration is bringing someone on stage saying this movie is happening and this is what we're going to be doing, like that is, how are we supposed to be excited for the next celebration in Japan when they inevitably announce something new or celebrations after that to come? And it's just, at this point, I'm starting to get angry that we have all of these people making all of these decisions, but not able to do this in a good, like they're doing a terrible job. This is just ridiculous at this point. The number of films that have been leaked or announced that haven't actually had any sort of nothing coming from them, I guess. It's just ridiculous. And don't remind me how much these people are getting paid to botch their jobs up this bad too. Jay, what are your thoughts on the situation right now?
If we were to use a sports comparison, I
Okay.
think the Rey movie is the Atlanta Falcons. It's not panic time yet. It's not panic time. You guys have had a few losses. We've had some detractions, but it's not time to panic and break glass in case of emergency just yet. Which is fine. I think that like a lot of movies go through these rewrites and different personnel like trying to take a crack at it, right? Even in just like other Star Wars projects, whether it be Solo, whether it be The Mandalorian. But no, I do agree with you guys where it's like, yeah, no, I mean, if it's not a Dave Filoni project or if it's not The Mandalorian, then it's like, well, these shows seem to not get any feet off the ground. And so yeah, no, I mean, if it this isn't a case of like, no, like we can cancel it. No, this is a case of like you have to launch this, otherwise then like you get like no one's gonna trust you. And like I think even like the Dawn of the Jedi movie, that's something that like if they canceled, I think that people probably would just forget about it. Yeah, sure, okay, fine. But this, I think when you have a huge actress like this who's excited for this project and who wants to get going, use that. I mean, I'm even thinking to myself, like, just shoot what you got. Like, I don't know, like there have been movies that have shot without a script, granted, to some varying quality. But like when you have an actress like that who's excited for the project, then hopefully, like I would think like, hey, like use that and even like get her and like I'm sure she has some ideas too about where she wants to take it. So
I just wonder what the problems are. Like, what are the issues? Why is it taking so long for a script to actually happen? Because they've had to have submitted rough drafts, like multiple rough drafts at this point. What's the holdup? Are we really struggling that hard to come up with a good concept for a Star Wars movie centered around a incredibly popular character set in a new timeline era? Like, what are we like? It really shouldn't be that difficult to get a talented team of writers on board, able to sit down, come up with some decisions. Because Stephen Knight is obviously a very talented writer. So, and I'm sure he has sent multiple drafts in to Disney. What do we not in? What do we don't like? What is the holdup? And now he's off doing Peaky Blinders. That movie begins production and begins filming imminently. He's that movie obviously is off and running. So he is under no obligation to be rushing to get some script correction, whatever done. And so that's why they'll probably bring in someone else to do this. And what's going to happen? I have no reason to believe that whoever they bring in to help with the script here is going to be able to do this. And I'm just frustrated because Daisy deserves better than this due to some of the crap she's gone through as a Star Wars actress
you're right.
being like a woman lead in Star Wars. And now you're going to parade her on stage, say we're going to do this movie. She is the face of like the future of Star Wars movies still. And now her movie is the one that is going to have all of the problems like getting going. It makes it just doesn't make any sense to me. Why are we unable to do this? And it's not like this is new. I mean, this has been a problem since Rogue Squadron was announced and Rogue Squadron got nixed. This has been a problem with pretty much every idea of a movie that's come out other than The Mandalorian and Grogu, which I think a lot of us feel was only like brought up because they were hurting and bleeding so bad from other decisions. They just were like, this might be a surefire way to make some money back. So we'll do something in theaters.
Sure. I agree.
Whatever. We'll talk about it more in depth over the future. But I want this movie to happen so bad. I think that this movie is incredibly important for the fandom because I think it's a way that we can move to a new era of the timeline, squash some of the vitriol and hate that exists, and even cut out some weeds of the fandom that are bringing people down as well. Like, I think there's just could be a really important project moving forward, especially just for the importance of the brand. So let's talk about some fun, random stuff for a little bit. That went way longer than I thought it would, to be honest. But we're going to talk about some Star Wars what ifs tonight, part 2. I am super excited. Part 1 was so much fun. We are going to be mostly in like the original trilogy era, Galactic Civil War era. And before we do that, though, I have to make an apology. I completely forgot about the Bad Batch last week when we were going through our shows and movies. So, Luke, will you please throw us a Bad Batch what if scenario before we move on to the original trilogy era? Because we skipped it. We went straight to Rebels because we wanted to do something like right after Clone Wars, but in the Galactic Civil War era to kind of like prelude. But go ahead. We forgot about Bad Batch.
Bad Batch, you wonderful, wonderful show. I can't believe it turned out to be as good as it was. Honestly, I wasn't someone who was like excited that we got that when they announced season 1, and here I am at the end of season 3, like super emotional that it's ending. So it's funny the ride that show had. My scenario, I drew up a couple. The first one I had that just like popped into my head was, what if Tech lived? I don't think that's very interesting. I don't know if the show changes that much if he actually lives. So what I'm going to pitch is, what if the Bad Batch didn't succeed? What if Palpatine gets Omega's blood and he is actually able to go through with Project Necromancer? It's a success. What if he is able to viably, perfectly create clones? I think that this little line, like this kind of what Bad Batch is about, is like hugely impacting all of Star Wars, which is funny that it's probably not in the top 10 most watched Star Wars projects. And it's something that could change the fabric of this whole thing.
I would say it's pretty easily here to say that like we'd all be screwed and we all be dead, like in the Star Wars galaxy. Because imagine like a Palpatine able to clone himself, memories, experiences, intelligence, force ability, cunning, all of that, being able to do all of that and perfect that would be pretty much like a nigh unstoppable force. It would have been really interesting to see how long the rebellion would have gone on, because they would have had to find a way to end the cloning and find Exegol sooner too, I would assume. So I would say that it would have probably escalated conflict because it would have been a matter of time before people would have found out about this at some point. This would have got leaked, and it would have probably made the conflict even bloodier, even more long lasting. But something I think we should talk about is what if this is kind of funny. What if like Palpatine lost control of his own cloning process? Like he creates a clone of himself, but because that clone is a clone of himself, he's probably not going to be. Is he going to be loyal to, original Palpatine? Or are we going to see like a Palpatine clone uprising? Like, do they all have chips in their heads? Like, I don't know. It's just interesting to go down this rabbit hole of what a Palpatine clone would look like. Are they only activated if Palpatine himself dies and the next one comes out of the, cryo chamber?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, Jay. What do you think?
That'd be a really cool story, honestly, like zombie Palpatines. Yeah, like Frankenstein monsters. No, I think those are really cool concepts. Definitely cool what ifs. So yeah.
Here's mine. I have one for you, Luke.
Oh, let's hear it.
What if they had taken Hunter instead of Crosshair back in the beginning to activate his inhibitor chip, and ultimately Crosshair and the rest of the Bad Batch left, but Hunter was the one that was after them, and they were without Hunter throughout? Like, how does that change?
I'd be more terrified if it was Hunter, honestly, because I mean, like, Hunter is basically Rambo, right? And then so we've seen Rambo. We've seen what happens when Rambo is after you. It's not a pretty sight.
With the trench, I'd be less concerned about, like, terrified of that, but more even, I would just be. I think the whole batch they just get destroyed so quickly. Like they don't last long at all without Hunter. I don't know.
And kind of. I don't know how to put it, but like narratively, like Hunter is the one that is like. I'm gonna say it again. He's kind of like the heartbeat.
He's the heart, Luke. He's the heart.
He's the heart. Like he is the like central dad figure to Omega. So it really changes the dynamic of how those characters interact with each other with no Hunter. Also, Crosshair had to work really hard to find the Bad Batch. I think Hunter, with his hunting, his like sensing abilities, like he's probably gonna find them way easier, track them way easier. It's gonna, like you said with the Palpatine stuff, like it's gonna escalate this way sooner. So it'd be very interesting to see.
They're gonna be able to. He's gonna be able to track them. I think they're gonna be less. Hunter's a tracker. He's probably really adept at covering up their tracks as well.
Ooh.
So I don't think without Hunter's skills there, they might struggle to even cover up their tracks a little bit and make it even easier for them to find. Because who's leading that group? Like Crosshair's not a leader. He's not really a leader. Tech is surely not a leader. I would assume Echo would probably be the one to try to assume more of a leadership role, but he's also the newest one to the group. So he hasn't been there since the beginning. He's their brother, but I would say he's not necessarily someone that, jumps off the page like he instantly assumes an authority role.
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
And Crosshair isn't really a leader either. He's going to criticize whoever is in charge. He's not actually going to do a great job of being in charge or wanting to be in charge. Right. So it's just the leadership really breaks down there. It's really interesting.
I love Bad Batch for what it is. It's just kind of really fun that there's this one clone family, these clones that were created by Palpatine, orchestrated to be created by Palpatine to take over everything. But it's this one group of like rebel clones who love essentially like their little sister. And because they love their little sister, they're going to, do everything to save their one person. But that one person happens to be the one individual that can, make sure that Palpatine's plans are thwarted, forever with his Project Necromancer. I think it's just like it's just a fun, beautiful Star Wars thread that only Star Wars is able to do something like that. And it actually makes sense.
Yeah. Wow.
Any other Bad Batch stuff? Or are we ready for some original trilogy?
No, we're already 45 minutes. So I think we're ready to move on to next project, whether that be
Okay.
Andor
That'd be Solo?
or yeah, sure, yeah.
All right. So number one Solo thing for everyone. What if Kira left with Han? What if
Yeah.
Kira that's the number that's the biggest what if in that movie is what if Kira actually did reject the Crimson Dawn ladder that she had been climbing up so long, not to just, name
So you're
drop
talking about
Crimson
like at the end of the
Climb, you should go
movie,
read it. At the end of the movie, she leaves.
Oh, I thought you meant like
like
beginning of the
getting off of
movie where they
Corellia.
get
Oh,
separated.
no.
Yeah.
I'm talking end of the movie. Darth Maul's still alive. Darth Maul's going to be at
Ooh.
this point more involved. Kira leaves with Han to go and do whatever with Jabba, do whatever. I don't know. But Kira leaves with Han.
That changes everything. I mean, because what's funny was like that entire movie, I was actually rooting for them. Like, even though I
Of
know that
course.
Han and even I thought their dynamic was actually really good. That changes a lot because
It breaks your heart.
then you figure if Kira goes with Han doesn't really end up with Princess Leia. Do you think Han would still join the rebellion?
I was going to ask that. I feel like maybe
don't know.
not. I think if he gets Kira, he does not have a reason to be as jaded. I don't feel like he ends up in the same
That's true.
spots.
Here's-
he is kind of happy.
Here's why I push back. I'm going to push back a little bit. Han is jaded because Kira, kind of leads him, right?
Yeah, that's true.
That's kind of like why he's jaded. He helps Impus Nest and the early ongoings of a rebellion.
He inadvertently
leaves.
helps out
He's-
the rebellion.
Kira is like, you're the good guy. Like, I know you're the good guy. Like, you're not the scoundrel you're trying to be. And we know Han is like this jaded scoundrel like person, but we all know that's kind of like his shtick, his persona. It's kind of a facade because Han really does want to do the right thing when he falls for someone or believes in something. Like, it's so, you see it in A New Hope. I know what I'm doing when he's packing the bags up, and he's become jaded over time. But a not jaded Han, who now has Kira by his side, probably believes anything's possible, might be more likely to join the fight, I feel like, against the Empire, maybe earlier on. And Luke, as a big comics guy, that Kira, because of what she learns with Maul after this, so obviously this is before she learns a lot about the Sith, but as she uncovers more of those secrets of the Sith, she wants to take the Empire down as well, just to create like a sense of balance in the galaxy once again. And so I wonder if she might still find a way to learn some of that, knowing who Maul is and being able to uncover some of those secrets on their own. I just wonder if they might be more likely to join up like with the rebellion. Like Han might be more likely to do that. I don't know if Kira would even be accepted or what that looks like because Crimson Dawn's going to be after her as well. But obviously it's just, we'll see. It's all for fun.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a good point. That she does have a lot of training thus far, a good amount of training thus far, with Crimson Dawn, and so for her to leave at that point, she's got a mark on her from Crimson Dawn for sure.
Crimson Dawn's gonna go after her.
Yeah, maybe like Kay Vest, that feel kind of like that, but yeah, I don't know, because that makes a lot of sense, Tyler. That they would maybe be more adept to joining up with the rebellion. And I'm still thinking, if Kira didn't know all that stuff from Crimson Dawn, which is like a further detraction of the what if, like I still feel like maybe they'd just be like, we're out. Like, let's just go live our life wherever we want to. Let's not even worry about the galactic conflict.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, let's not even get involved.
Then again, that's trying to take Kira out of what she really is. Like, she has all this information that she's been gathering for the past 3 years at that point. So like her at the end of that movie, I do think even if she leaves with Han, we just change that, I still think she's gonna want balance for the galaxy and want to do that somehow. And I think the rebellion, maybe Saw's partisans, are more of what she would go for because they're a little bit more brutal. She's maybe not the Mon Mothma type, but maybe more of Saul.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
There's just zero part of me that believes Han would be able to sit on his hands during the entire conflict. Like Han doesn't.
That's-
He's just
yeah,
no part of Han like seems like he's gonna go, pick up moisture farming and live a life with Kira in isolation. No, this guy has to be out in the action. He's got to be, he's got to be doing something. I do enjoy like Manslayer's comment here. Like, what's the concept that Star Wars embraces? Free will or destiny? And thinking that with the will of the Force and talking about how the Force impacts all of this. I think it's like a mix of both. I think that there is like a clear, like the Force wills things to happen, but like I would say like the Force willed Anakin to be born as the chosen one, but I wouldn't say that necessarily the Force willed Anakin to turn to the dark side and slaughter like all of these people first. I think the Force can will, and it changes things over time. Anakin, in order to fulfill that, the Force is like, all right, here's his son, and we're gonna help his son along the right way, and that's gonna be what brings him back as well. It's like a mix of the two for sure, I'd say. So last solo one before we get on. This is just like a quick hitter. What if L3 hadn't have gotten blasted when they're on Kessel? And so they don't just plug her into the Falcon when they're trying to make their mistake because she doesn't want, because of a droid's autonomy, and doesn't want her neural net being connected to the Falcon, and so they have to try to get out of that without her navigational abilities. Does the Kessel Run actually happen in under 12 parsecs?
I think they still get out. I mean, I think that even though L3,
but does it happen under 12 parsecs? Jay?
Probably not.
Then what's the point? Star Wars is over.
I mean, like what's funny about the whole like under 12 parsecs thing is like I'm like, even after watching Solo, like there's that debate of like, okay, when they're on Tatooine and in the cantina, Han Solo says, I made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. Like people used to debate like, oh, is he being for real, or is he just trying to vaunt himself up and like make himself look better than he really is? After watching Solo, I'm still questioning that. I'm like they, I think they still needed like somewhat defined parsecs, because I'm like, is parsecs a measure of time or distance?
I think there is well, in my opinion, there's a definitive answer, and that is that it is distance, and it's the fact that they went through that maelstrom,
right.
so they went in a shorter distance, 12 parsecs, when it should have taken 20 or something.
Okay.
So
it's like else been able to do that ever.
It's like discovering like the Strait of Magellan or something. I
guess.
guess.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
but even.
Luke, sorry,
I was just gonna say,
we can keep talking about the Kessel for what.
Even then, I'm like, even after watching Solo, I'm like, what exactly happened there?
So. I love the Kessel Run stuff. I eat it up all the time. All right, Luke, give us an Andor what if.
I want to say real quick, if L3 lives, she joins up with Ajax Sigma from the Dark Droids comic run, and they overtake all of humanity. And okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, Charles Soule. I love you so much.
Charles Soule, friend of the pod.
Andor what?
You're just gonna name drop like a bunch of people being like friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod. Maybe not like, they ever wanted to be there. They'd be a friend of the pod.
Please join.
I've had conversations with Charles Soule. He's a nice guy. We're friends,
man. So
I consider us friends. He doesn't know who I am outside of a few conversations. I took that as friendship.
I have got two for us.
1 minute interview.
I don't know how much we're going to get out of them. I think we could get a little bit of juice out of each one of these.
I could pull juice out of anything.
Okay. And then
for sure. We know
I can squeeze anything.
It's a little hard.
Don't cut that. That sounds inappropriate.
It's a little difficult knowing there is a season 2 of this show that we don't know what happens in. So I will just throw this one out there, that what if Cassian Andor does not make it out of this season? What if he died in this show?
Ooh.
So he is not part of Rogue One. Well, how does Rogue One go if there is no Cassian?
They will never know that he's been in this fight since he was
since he was 6 years old.
Jin will never know that, and that is so important for Jin.
And that will ruin Star Wars.
No, I think that Rogue One is such a good movie, and I just love I think Rogue One was something I really enjoyed the first time I watched it. I think the first 30, 40 minutes are awesome. The last 45 minutes are peak Star Wars, and then the middle like third of that, like the second third of that movie is just kind of it's not great. I don't think it's very good, but every time I watch that movie, I appreciate it more and more. Like I just love like the story and the thematic, beats of that. So missing Cassian Andor from that would just be like, who's gonna take over? Is Melshi leading the cause? Like, is Melshi the one that's gonna be there? I don't know, but and obviously it impacts a lot because Cassian chooses to believe Jin, whoever is next in that, on the list of to go be with Jin and help her. We don't know that person is going to believe in her to bring Rogue One and go to Scarif. We don't know that because Jin, those people believed Jin, but they followed Cassian because they trust Cassian's judgment, who believes her as well. And I don't know. And Jin, clearly, I love it when characters say something that other characters then use as like inspiration. Like when Kino Loy in Andor says, like the line where Cassian says, I would rather die than to than to live, giving them like what they want. Like Kino Loy says that after Cassian told him that. And then that was like mirroring what happens in Rogue One when Jin says the most impactful, she gives her monologue there. And she uses the line that Cassian told her. And it's the best part of the movie for me is when she says rebellions are built on hope. And Cassian serving as an inspiration for Jin in that moment. It changes the dynamic of everything. Sure, most of the events of Rogue One to some degree still happen because the rebellion would just plug in someone new. But you can never replace like the heartbeat of a story. You can never replace like a heartbeat of a relationship. And taking Cassian out of that drastically impacts everything because we have no idea how Jin would mesh with the new person.
That's fair. I was thinking that the new person, whoever is substituted in for Cassian, might not make as much of an impact or have as much of a relationship with Jin, and so he might pull the trigger and kill Galen Erso on Ariadu if that still happens. Like there's ramifications that the relationship and humanness between those two that they do form saves bad decisions, saves Cassian from a bad decision there. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Might happen.
Yeah.
So I had. Well, is anyone else? Jay, did you want to chime in on that one?
I have another what if, but I wonder if we might even have the same what if.
He's the heart, Manslayer.
I doubt it. Heart. My next one, it's a little niche, but stick with me here. I'm saying,
hold on, Luke.
Oh boy,
can we like mash up like the stranger? I'm like, those like no context, like this is the episode with no context. That would be like ours today. We just little clip from Stranger Things and said what we talked about on Star Wars News Net Live this week, and it's just Will screaming, "You're the heart, Mike. You're the heart." Like that's the theme of the episode. Anyway, sorry.
So this one feels funny to say, but I'm gonna go with this through line of what if Nemec lives, and I think maybe that doesn't change the ending of Andor, the series, much, but I'm thinking his survival leads to a better New Republic. I think he is able to maybe enact some better core laws or morals to this new government. I think he's got his head on straight and he can correct some wrongs that we see in the New Republic before they even happen. I think that's where I'm seeing this go, that Nemec could be a true political leader for good. He could save some bad from happening that we do see in the Mandoverse.
Quick refresher, Nemec is
Manifesto guy.
Yes. Thanks.
Yes.
Okay, I like this one, Luke. I like this one.
Okay.
But I'm gonna push back.
Okay.
I think this sucks for Cassian.
Oh.
I think this sucks for Cassian.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, good point. Good point.
Because
That does mean a lot to him. That
you
this
know,
happened.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying that
that's
like Nimic has to die for Cassian to do his thing, but you know how you have maybe like there's like that friend or there's like a mentor or someone in your life that's constantly like chirping at you, like things that you
Yes.
need to be hearing, and you're just not receptive to it until suddenly like
They're gone.
that friend or mentor is gone. Maybe they
Yeah.
moved, they died, they're not there anymore. And you're like, it clicks. Like you missed that. You missed them, but you missed that. And what they say suddenly just it really means something. Or I don't know. Like, so Cassian, that moment where he gets the manifesto back after he's out of prison and it's playing it, we presume that he's read, you know, this portion of it. And you have like the Nimic voiceover of, you know, just try. Like, I don't know if Nimic lives, he's going to have his manifesto with him. Cassian's not going to be reading that. That's not something he takes with him when he is out of prison. I just don't, he might still be ready to fight the Empire because of his experiences, but there's just something so powerful and weighted about Nimic choosing Cassian to have that. He could have not said anything about his manifesto. He could have just let it die with him. He could have given it to one of the other members of the crew or said, please upload this to the HoloNet. I don't know. But he's like, I see something in you. Like, I believe in this person. And to me, that's incredibly powerful because he believed that Cassian was the heart. Anyway.
Very nice. Yeah.
In all seriousness,
That's
like
what
I it's kind of the vibe I get from that one.
That's a really good point. So those were the fun things I had for Andor. Jay, did you have
Jay,
another
yeah.
Andor one?
Oh yeah. I don't know if I want to hear what your guys' thoughts on this. What if Kino Loy actually knew how to swim at that one point in time and was actually gonna go with Cassian Andor? What would that look like?
We would maybe have Kino Loy and Luthen Rail meeting up at that point. If like
Oh,
Kino and Cassian like glue, like stick together just like Melshi. It's the three of them now. And so they're going along all together. That could be a big sway for the alliance. That they could
Especially
have
when
Kino Loy.
they're on Scarif.
Ooh,
Eventually,
yeah.
if they're on Scarif
Yeah.
eventually, and they know they have to get like out of the shield to the rebellion, and Kino just is like, guys, once again, there is one way out. Like that's like that would be perfect. Like there's one way out once again. It all connects. It all connects. No, with Kino, you know, like dueling piano bars. Would Kino and Luthen have like a dueling monologue bar like session, something like that? Where they just the dueling monologues, like, oh, I will one up your monologue.
Right, a big man on level 2.
it's like
a sunrise I know I'll never see.
it's like in Shogun. Did you guys watch Shogun?
I have not. I need to watch.
Oh, okay.
It's
I
like
really want
it's
to.
like number one on the shows I'm gonna watch when I finish my Star Trek show I'm watching.
Okay, well, if you,
Which will be in 3
I won't
years.
spoil it then. Then I'll save what I was gonna say.
Please,
for later.
no spoilers, no spoilers. I've managed to avoid like spoilers for that show, surprisingly.
Oh,
Okay, quick Rogue One, and then we'll do some original trilogy here. This is like really interesting. What if Krennic lived and ended up having Tarkin's role on the Death Star? Like things worked out differently where Krennic was in charge of the Death Star instead of Tarkin moving forward. I know that Tarkin was like, he was seemingly always going to assume control of the Death Star because that's what he did. But what if he didn't? What if Tarkin's like, you know what? This Krennic guy is doing a good job. Like you can go ahead and you can run this thing. Like you're solid. And Krennic does. What could change? What do we see differently for the future of the Imperial military?
Here's one.
I don't think
coming.
Oh, go.
We got stuff going here.
Yeah, I will say Well, an answer you didn't see coming is that Tarkin now is like, all right, he's good. I'm going to take over the TIE Defender project, and he's going to get that off the ground. So they've got a Death Star, shielded and
Oh.
hyperspace capable TIE fighters viable that Thrawn left after he decided to peace out. I think the Empire becomes stronger. I think they are harder to beat with a competent Krennic and a competent like Tarkin. I think they're way harder to beat.
Jay?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think Alderaan really gets destroyed.
I was going to say that too. I feel like he might not do that.
He
Yeah.
just blow up Dantooine. He would have
There it
fallen like
goes.
hook, line, and
Yeah.
sinker. They're on Dantooine. Go, go, go.
Are we blind?
Are we blind? Deploy the laser beam.
Yeah.
You may fire when ready. So you don't think, why doesn't Alderaan get destroyed? You don't think he's still gonna?
I think he's the more
Krennic
cool.
feels way more trigger happy than
You
Tarkin
think
did.
so?
I mean, like, remember whenever they're blowing up like Jeddah City, he's like, this is only a fraction of his, like, it was
that's true.
Tarkin that was like, no, that'll do. Like, and Tarkin is just, I think, on another like playing field in terms of intelligence and strategical thinking than Krennic. So I think that Krennic might have been more dangerous as being in control. I think that's why Tarkin assumed control. He's like, I can't trust this erratic person with, the Death Star. But maybe Alderaan doesn't get destroyed because Krennic's not as smart and they just leave and go to Dantooine and he thinks that they destroyed that and that makes an example. I don't know. My biggest thing would be similar to the line that Luke had, reading like the Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire book. It's very interesting. It talks about just what the destruction of the Death Star meant, not just losing that, station, but losing all of the leadership on board, Tarkin, plus a lot of the other like Moffs that were there as well. But if you lose all of those leaders, but Tarkin's was not on the Death Star, he survived. The Empire's military hierarchy would have, for the most part, been like still fine because you still have that overall presence of Tarkin like overseeing everything. No one's gonna step on his toes. No one's gonna try to usurp his authority. You're not gonna have all these lesser people vying for power. And so perhaps like the gains that the rebellion's able to make in the years following the Death Star's destruction are much more minimal due to Tarkin reevaluating like what the military is supposed to do. It could have created much longer lasting conflict possibly. It's there. Yeah, probably Alderaan though, but yes, other 7 planets on the way to Alderaan.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. I was like tracing it through in my head, like, well, if he really doesn't blow up Alderaan, you've pointed out, yes, trigger happy. I think he might go blow up Dantooine. He might go blow up 6 other planets. Like it could be worse. It could be way worse than what we saw in A New Hope. So fair point.
So let's move on to some original trilogy. All right, what if Jyn lived? I just have to say it. What if Jyn lived? What if she survived somehow and we get her full in the rebellion? Fully rebellion Jyn.
I would actually like to see that, like a battle scarred like Jyn by the end of like episode like 6. That would
So
cool.
Jyn survives, Cassian does not.
Yes.
Man. Still
takes on the torch, carries the torch. I would love to see Jyn Erso and Princess Leia interact.
Oh, I'd love it. We need that.
Like her father, the one who helps create the Death Star, and Leia's father, the one who is killed by the Death Star, like on Alderaan. Like I don't know. I would love to watch them have to find a way to work together. And Jyn also being the one that brought the plans that helped them ultimately destroy the Death Star. Like there's just so many cool ways to do that. And Jin's character is so awesome. I just hate the fact we're never going to get more Jyn Erso stories because she, isn't there. But even though that her character is awesome, my sacrifice is incredible. But I'm just curious if what her role in the rebellion what you guys think would be.
Gosh, I was trying to think. In the comics, there's like these Pathfinder teams. I don't think she'd be on that, but like some kind of she's getting her hands dirty. She wants to be in the battle.
Mhm.
So some type of like general in the alliance, she'd be a great force for good, trying to get some footholds and spying,
Mhm.
and like I think she'd do the rebellion a lot of good if
Mhm.
she could have survived. She'd be
Yeah.
great. They would be so much stronger.
I just would love to see her and Princess Leia interact. So, original trilogy. This is like the number one. We had like 3 people in the comments like say this back to back to back last week, right as we were leaving. It was, what if Luke and Leia were flipped and Leia was on Tatooine and Obi-Wan was watching Leia, and Luke grew up on Alderaan with Bail Organa and the Organas, and we have Luke Organa and Leia Skywalker on Tatooine. Like, how does this story shift? Like, what are some differences that we might see? What like, obviously then now we have Leia's training with Yoda, and getting to meet Yoda through that. Leia, everything changes because Leia's a much different person than Luke, and vice versa. Like, I just think this would be fascinating. I can't imagine Luke being some sort of like senatorial like ambassador, like junior senator for his father. Like, no, he probably joins the Imperial Academy as like a pilot or something.
Exactly.
Huh.
I'm starting to think about the parallels you would get. This is jumping too far ahead, but like when she's training Rey, if she had grown up on a desert planet, became a Jedi, and now she's training Rey to like get out of this, like she could be an even better teacher for Rey and make her an even better Jedi. Man, what a role switch. I don't think there's a bigger one you could do. Hardly.
Right.
Gosh,
Other
I
than
feel
like
like
Luke Dark Side or something.
yeah, Leia would maybe I don't know. I feel like Obi-Wan, if he still goes on this mission with her in the Kenobi show, maybe he is
I
able
completely
to
forgot
reach
about
out
Kenobi.
to her
Yeah.
better and
Oh.
sooner, and is able to train her. Owen lets her. I don't know. Like,
Well, no, because then if they're flipped, she has, Luke is the one that he goes on the
no,
adventure with in
true,
Kenobi,
true.
because Luke's been kidnapped. So it's like his connection is first with Luke, and he has to get back to protecting Leia.
Man,
Here's my
that's
question,
huge.
actually,
That's
though.
huge.
Yeah. What's interesting about Luke's character too, though, like he is very ambitious in episode 4. He wants to join the academy. He wants to get off Tatooine. My question is, like, like that ambition fuels him to go and join the rebellion, but does he still have that same ambition if he's not on Tatooine? Right? The thing about like Tatooine and like, like whether we like it or not, our environments really shape our natures and our characters, right? And in some ways, Alderaan helped shape and form Leia's whole diplomacy and her tact for being able to handle senators and being able to handle politics.
Right.
Now, would that still apply to Luke if he was on Alderaan? And it's likewise with Leia, if she's on Tatooine, does she still get that same ambition and same desire to leave? Or does she maybe even be like, no, actually, I like the peaceful life here. You know what? Hey, Uncle Owen, I'm cool with staying here and being with you guys.
I cannot imagine. Like, I mean, Leia's trying to go count the starships and go on
Sure.
adventures when she's a little kid. Like, she's gonna be running off doing something like funny with Tusken Raiders for all we know. Like, and I don't know, but I just can't imagine her being content to like do anything. She's gonna want to be involved. And with Luke, I think it's less about like maybe the ambition. I could see him getting into even more trouble. Like those Skywalker boys just find a way to get into some mischief and trouble. For me, it's like I wonder
Well, he'd be
if
Luke Organa now.
yes, like Skywalker, he's still he's Skywalker. But
people don't call him.
I don't know. That's what I was
though.
saying. I just can't see Luke in a Senate room. Like I can't. He's never struck me as like the tactful type to
But
go.
that's the thing, though, right? I
Yeah.
mean, but that's the fun of the what if situation. Is like, well, if he is part of like the Organa family, and if he is on Alderaan, there, he is going to be trained up to be like a prince.
Correct.
In all honesty,
And I
could
don't
definitely-
think he's gonna like his personality. Like I think he's still gonna have a lot of who he is. His personality is gonna be the same.
Sure.
I could see him being like, I cannot do this, that. Like I'm not gonna
Sure.
be able to. He's gonna push back on that. While Leia, it was more of she was rebellious, but she wanted to be more involved with what her father was doing in the Senate. Like she was like, she almost wanted to please her father, like, and be more involved with the Senate stuff and get involved and get out there. I think Luke's gonna be like, I want to go like that Tashi Station power converter. Luke's still going to be there. He's going to go fly starships and go, explore the galaxy in that way, I think. And that's going to be more problematic. They're going to have a harder time maybe reining Luke in.
That's true.
Probably gets discovered a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like, and
Luke
that's
and Poe would be able to relate then. I think they'd both grow up with families that are, although Luke and Poe don't really interact, but like I would see a lot of parallels there of growing up with like a prominent family, good upbringing, but they still are rebellious teens that don't exactly want to fall in line. So
yeah. And then I mean, I was just gonna add too. I mean, again though, like for these characters, if Luke ends up on Alderaan, like there's a whole thing of like, does he become, like Tyler, you were saying, he'll probably become like, you don't see him being involved in politics. He could probably end up having like a military like service life. I could totally actually imagine that, like Luke in the military or like Empire. Or does he turn into like what's that character in High Republic Convergence? The
Axel Greylark.
I could totally see like Luke becoming like an Axel Greylark as like this like spoiled rich kid. But also too, like you said though, I mean, like Leia she has like that desire to be like what her father does. She wants to become like her father, and that's why she joins the Senate. I mean, does that still apply even when she's just a moisture farmer? It's an interesting idea and prospect.
So what if Vader never turns never turns back?
Okay.
What if Vader never turns back to the light? What if Vader never turns back to the light? So the reason I bring this up and why is this important is because in the story of Star Wars, from a galactic narrative, the rebellion would still destroy the Death Star and the Emperor would still die because he's on board for that time. Maybe they escape. Maybe they still escape, but the Death Star will be destroyed. And because Luke barely makes it out, dragging his father, not a lot of the Imperials make it out of there. It's safe to assume that the Emperor may still die, Vader may still die, and Luke is now dead. But the Empire, I guess the Emperor could also survive barely. Maybe the door is open. But what if Vader doesn't turn? Like there's a lot of different directions this goes from a galactic standpoint. But then from a narrative standpoint of Star Wars, it changes everything from like a narrative side as well. And like a thematic side, I guess, is what I
don't think the Jedi continue on then. Because if Darth Vader doesn't turn, and if like he needs to turn if Luke is going to survive. If Luke is dead, then Jedi are gone forever.
What about Leia?
She doesn't have Leia training though.
Luke did tell her, you have that power too.
Sure.
She knows that they're related. She doesn't necessarily believe she has that power, but part of me believes that she would start to think about sometimes in her life that she's been able to do some certain things. And I wonder if she comes around. Obviously, she doesn't know how to commune with, Force ghosts or anything, but
yeah,
possible that an Obi-Wan or a Yoda could appear to her at some point and talk to her. Like there is still, the potential there when Yoda was like, no,
sure,
there is another, but like you said, it could mean the end of the Jedi as well.
Let's go with Ahsoka comes out of the woodwork and trains Leia. Because I do agree, like
I guess Ahsoka
Luke,
is still around. Yes.
Luke does not survive this. So yeah, I was gonna say the new Luke's Jedi Order on Ossus probably doesn't happen, but Leia has the opportunity to potentially train as a Jedi is what we're going with. And wow, what an insane twist it would be if maybe the Jedi don't continue. And does that make for a more stable galaxy that there's not
Mhm.
space wizards? Like that could
Oh yeah,
work
no
for the
Jedi
New
or Sith.
Republic.
But
That
here's the
could
problem: the Sith
dark
are
side will
still out
rise.
there because
that-
of Exegol.
You're right.
yes.
You're right.
Yes.
Yep. My apologies. Yep.
Man.
Kylo, we wouldn't see the rise of Kylo Ren
No.
because,
Shoot.
well, or would we? Like that might look differently because his
Yeah.
potential would still be there from the scout. But Luke, training him in
Oh,
the
yeah.
beginning wouldn't be there. But does he get corrupted faster? Does he get corrupted at all? If it's not for some
Yeah.
of the things that go on with Luke, what does that look like? It could be very interesting.
That's a big one.
It's a good one.
So that I thought that one was interesting. Like Manslayer says that Leia becomes a Jedi, kills Vader, she falls to the dark side. Though Leia finding the dark side is interesting. I always felt Luke was the one that was more likely to fall to the dark side rather than Leia. Like of the two, like I always felt like it was like Luke was the one that maybe had that tendency more. I could definitely see it though if she's confronted by, if it's Vader, she's having to confront like the anger and hatred from the torture. That could definitely be the tipping point. I think that would be the only thing that could possibly turn Leia to the dark side, which would be definitely a big one. A couple of joke ones before we get out of here. What if the Ewoks actually did eat Han, Leia? Or Han,
Oh, no.
Luke and Chewie. What if like Luke and them didn't step up, something happened, and the Ewoks, did feast upon, Luke, Han, and Chewie in C-3PO's honor?
That's a funny one.
The Empire wins.
No,
Oh yeah, the
Empire
Empire
win.
would actually take over.
Leia
Andor.
is still around, people. We are
Oh.
discounting
No
Princess
Han
Leia's
and no
leadership.
Luke and no Chewie though. Gosh.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
But we do have
You think
Lando
you're
and
telling me
Nia.
Princess Leia couldn't. Princess Leia started a resistance from nothing.
Which she just witnessed her friends get eaten by Ewoks. You're telling me she's gonna still form a relationship with them?
She would do what needs to be done. Of all of those people, no, stop. Of all of the people in that room, Han, Leia, Chewie, and Luke, she is by far the one most willing to just do what needs to be done.
Your
no
best
matter
friends
what.
just got eaten by these creatures, and you're gonna go ahead and
if she
still
knew that
befriend
those
them?
creatures were the only way to get them to defeat the Empire tomorrow, she would definitely.
You're still gonna
befriend them.
trust them. You're still gonna trust the
She doesn't
Ewoks.
trust
I'm
them.
just
She's
saying-
going to use them.
I'm just saying, Leia, of all four of those people, of Chewie, Han, Luke, and her, she is by far the one that's like, will do what needs to be done in order to defeat darkness.
Yes,
Luke
absolutely,
goes
because
and
Luke is
hides and
going
runs
to
off
run.
in the sequel.
Han and Chewie would try to fight
Save
them,
themselves.
save themselves.
But in
Leia
the
is
situation,
not-
they're
Leia's
dead.
the one
They're
to be like, I'm
eaten.
going to use them. True, but like in the face of like, if any one of these people survived, if instead of Leia being the sole survivor, if Luke is the sole survivor, he's running. Lon's the sole survivor, he's trying to kill them all. Chewie, same.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably all running. Those
You're
three.
not saying
Leia would be
Leia's
the
hanging
one.
out to get married in the Ewok village afterwards. It's just like, if she's got to defeat the Empire and the Ewoks are her only chance, like if
Her
she
tool.
knows they're
They're her tool.
if she knows they're the only chance, she would do this. This is funny though. It's the comment here. It says
Yes.
the Empire wins and rule the galaxy forever, but at least 3PO becomes a god forever too. Eventually, R2 destroys 3PO because he becomes unbearable with that much flattery and talks a lot. That's a good one. That's a good one. I love that. No, that was fun. That was fun. So we forgot about. There's so much great Star Wars to talk about. I completely forgot about Obi-Wan Kenobi as a show, which
So I
maybe speaks
did
a little
have
bit more about
something
Obi-Wan
there.
Kenobi.
Well, we
mean,
talked
what-
about the switch
I
between
didn't have-
Luke and Leia.
Yeah.
We did talk about the
I
Switch.
kinda
I guess
hit on
that would be
yeah.
the Luke. Did you have one for the show, and then we'll get out of here?
I had what if the Inquisitors knew who Leia was, knew how important she was when she got captured. If they knew that was, if they all knew that was Vader's son, sorry, daughter.
Daughter. Yeah, I was gonna say.
What could happen there? What could the Inquisitorius maybe get rid of Vader? Could they blackmail him? I think they would. I think would they kill her? Like, there's
I would love to watch
Interesting
them
things
try
to
to
go on
blackmail Darth Vader.
right. And we've
I would love
seen
to
in the
watch
comics what
anyone.
people do. Yeah.
I would love to watch anyone other than Palpatine try to blackmail Darth Vader and see like, how
Vader.
that goes.
You
Well-
get Vader on the phone, and then the
Yeah.
Inquisitors are like, Vader, we have your daughter. Then Vader goes, I will find you.
I have a
will kill you.
I have a particularly strong set of skills I've acquired over a long career of hate and vengeance.
Dr.
That's
Aphra
good.
does indeed blackmail Darth Vader. She gets sent out of space ejection. So
You're right.
it doesn't work for anyone.
doesn't.
So
You're
Yeah.
right.
It's a classic F around and find out situation. What if Tala had lived? Oh, I love Tala.
Oh yeah. Does
Tala
does
Dureth.
Kenobi Kenobi
He would
open
have
himself to
until
a
he accidentally
relationship with
said
her?
until he accidentally said Sabine like on their wedding night one night, and then the relationship would end after that when he'd have to start talking and opening up about his one true love. That's what would happen.
Well, I thought you were gonna mention Hera actually, since Ewan McGregor and what's her
Kate
name?
Winslet.
Yeah.
Oh, right, not Kate Winslet. My God.
Mary Elizabeth.
Yes.
Yeah, they're actually like in a relationship in
Right.
real life. So
Yes. Well, another wonderful night of Star Wars What Ifs. A lot of things to hit on next week. We'll tackle the Mandoverse and the sequels. I got a few good sequel ones already. One of them, which is one of my favorites in all of Star Wars to talk about. Ready
Ooh.
to go next week. Timeline show will be back this Saturday. Luke and I have already recorded it. It's ready to go. We're ready to rumble on Saturday. You can check out the Monday show coming up next week, where Luke and I are going to do a celebration of Star Wars Rebels, as the 10-year anniversary of Rebels is next week. So excited to talk about that. That is, a show that's very dear to Luke's heart, very dear to mine. Cannot
Yes.
wait to talk about Rebels with Luke over the weekend. Drop that on Monday. Make sure that you check out Star Wars Newsnet for all of your Star Wars updates and reviews for everything. We have the character spotlight piece dropping tomorrow. Check out Miguel's piece on Galaxy Far, Far Away that comes out every Sunday, catching you up on the latest in Star Wars. Make sure that you read our own Nate's Tears of the Nameless review if you like Star Wars books. He's got plenty of spoiler-free stuff in there for you to digest before you get a hold of that book. And then, of course, Jay, please spend a moment, tell us about Good Games, Dude.
yes, I'd be happy to. Good Games Dude is my YouTube gaming channel that is a place for newcomers and longtime video game veterans to grow in their appreciation of video games. This week, I just put out a new video talking about the King of Fighters. If you guys are fighting game fans, or even if you're not, and you've heard a lot about Terry Bogard, who was a guest character on Super Smash Bros. And he even joined Street Fighter 6 recently, and they have Street Fighter characters joining Fatal Fury coming soon. That was just announced. If you want to get in on all of that action, want to know like why is this like why are these characters so popular, check out my video up on Good Games Dude, which was just uploaded 2 days ago, and it is getting a lot of attention on social media, a lot of great views, and I appreciate all of that as well. So
Awesome. Would love to hear that, Jay. Thanks for
Awesome job.
the
Thank you.
update. You are a rock star, and everyone should go hit that subscribe button if they can. Check us out on Spotify and Apple at Star Wars Newsnet. There's 3 shows a week up there for you. Please go leave us a 5-star review. Make sure you put that in there. That would be fantastic. Yes, Tyler, first time joining to the end. Thanks for hopping on. Feel free to go watch the rest of the show. We have 3 shows a week. So Monday, this coming Monday will be when Luke and I are just going to talk about everything we loved from Star Wars Rebels. So that'll be like a 12-hour podcast because we absolutely love the Rebels. And then
Break
on
down every
Saturdays,
episode, all 74
and
episodes.
then all 74 episodes. So on Saturday, Tyler, Luke, and I also, we break down the next piece of Star Wars canon material. We're going through the entire timeline. So every single week we break down something. So it's a lot of reading, a lot of watching, a lot of refreshing our memories on things. So you can always check those out for a little weekend Star Wars stuff. So be sure to check that out. Always on Monday. Monday mornings usually is when the Monday pod drops. And then you can always check us out here every Thursday night at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Please, you can follow us all on social media at Star Wars Newsnets. You follow me at TypeRed5. Check us all out. We will see you next time. For Light and Life, everyone, remember that we are all the Republic.